There's something new from our sponsor, Text Control. For decades, TX Text Control's rendering was tied to Windows functionality. But now it's a new era. TX Text Control is platform independent. You can run your .NET applications on Windows or Linux, deploy with Docker containers, Kubernetes, or host directly in Azure App Services. Seamlessly integrate document editing, signing, collaboration, and PDF processing into your ASP.NET Core and Angular applications. Are you ready to see it in action? Check out the live demo at demos.textcontrol.com. That's demos.textcontrol.com. Hi, I'm Scott Hanselman. This is another episode of Hansel Minutes. Today I'm chatting with Tyler Bushnell. He's the founder and CEO of Polycade. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How's it going, Scott?
Very, very well. I think it's funny because it's going to look like, if people see this on video, like it's an ad for Polycade, because there is an arcade Polycade behind me. I've got the black one that is mounted on my wall. Hopefully people who see this on TikTok or YouTube will be able to see that as well. So here we are, two guys that work for Polycade. Just to make sure that folks are clear, I am a customer. This is not sponsored. I'm just a super fan.
Nice. Oh, well, thank you for that, Scott. I appreciate the support from, the sort of early...
the early adopters, right? So I got it during a Kickstarter. And a lot of people are down on Kickstarter because they feel like maybe a Kickstarter didn't deliver. But man, oh man, Polycade delivered. Was that an overwhelming experience?
Yeah, I mean, we've run a few Kickstarters at this point. It is funny, always, folks that are like, this, Kickstarters make me nervous, and, will this ever ship, and, all of that. I mean, granted, we are, aggressive with our delivery estimates, so we're working on adding a little more realism to those, but... So, we understand, when people get, antsy and, people freak out because Kickstarter has some scary, text that's this is not a store, and,
it is not a store.
Nothing, But, I mean, we even had people to reach out, and they're like, can we just buy it directly from you? We don't, feel comfortable with this Kickstarter thing. And we're like, no, sorry, we can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And they didn't buy it in the Kickstarter, and then bought it 3 months later for almost double the price,
Yeah, and that's what you get when you don't wait. Certainly you can go to polycade.com right now, hit buy now, and it's in stock and it ships, and it is fantastic. Now, people know that I've actually built an arcade cabinet before. I've actually built many arcade cabinets. I'm going right now and Googling, and I've got an article back from 2009. So I went took it. Yeah. I built a 7-part series on how to build your own arcade cabinet. And I was the kind of guy where you go to a bar or a bowling alley, you find a non-working arcade, and you say to the guy at the bowling alley, hey, take that off your hands. And I paid $50 and I get a nice big thing of MDF. It's a nice big, plywood box, rent a truck, get it over to the house, gut it, put a computer inside. And the building of that was a joy, but it's been my experience as doing retro arcade gaming for many, many years now, that there's two kinds of retro people. There's the making the games and then the playing the games. There's the making of the cabinet and the tinkering and the getting the collection right, and then there's the playing it. It feels to me like Polycade is the arcade gaming for people who actually would like to play their games.
Yes-ish. We add a thread of that tinkering in there. Just by using a lot of off-the-shelf components and common connectors and stuff. So where we see the tinkering coming in on the I mean, you're right. It is we take a dual approach basically.
Yeah, you do.
How can we set this up so that it's super easy for the person that just wants it to work, right? So that's step one. And then for the people that want to kind of pull back the hood and get in there and mess around, we want to make sure they are empowered to do that, right? So we put extra studs on the undersides of the controllers, all of them, right? So that you can go in and mod the controller, right? So our button mash controller is the one that's just buttons, right? And it's like for your original like um, asteroids, tubin, gravitar setup. But it's also like would make a great spinner controller just given the layout of the buttons and everything. So the center hole has a stud pattern under there so that you could install a joystick or a spinner or something else if you should so desire.
Well, I think that speaks to the word I would use is intentionality. When I got this, it showed up. It's massive. It shows up in my front yard in a giant box, very well packaged. My son and I, my 15-year-old at the time, installed it, hung it on the wall. It's absolutely gorgeous. It could be in a bar or a club or a restaurant. Like if you have a commercial installation, you can buy it, put it up there, and it'll look amazing. But you're intentional about the tinkering. I didn't even know that it was as modular as it
Right.
was. Like behind you on your wall are all of your modular controllers. They just show up in software as X input. They show up as controllers, which I thought was clean. There's no like crazy drivers to install to get a Polycade to work. That
Yeah,
must
yeah.
have been a decision that you made. Like you all said, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the controller protocol has been like one of the foundational like hardware choices on our platform. And it's one of the reasons, I mean, when you're building an arcade machine, you basically have three choices of controller protocol. It's either a keyboard controller, a D input controller, or an X input controller. Um, on the market, X input controllers are the most rare. They're becoming a little more common now, but definitely when we started, you almost couldn't find one. And the difference between the three is quite a bit. So like keyboard controllers have the advantage that they have a ton of buttons, so you can like map like a whole like what I call a Franken panel where like it's got like 4 players and every controller under the sun.
Right. The big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one. It's got
yeah
24 buttons, 32 buttons.
Yeah, so you can map like everything to a keyboard controller because there's so many inputs. But the problem with the keyboard controller is that because of that, they're generally like unstandardized, and so you're gonna end up mapping the controls for every single game that you install manually, right? Giant pain. And then take it one step further. If you intend to play any modern games on this, again, a keyboard is unstandardized. And so, some games are going to map the like movement to the arrow keys. Other games are going to map it to WASD. And so there's no standard here. So, when you wire your hardware, you're just making a random choice and not all the games are going to adhere to that. The same kind of goes for D input. It's also relatively unstandardized, like controller protocol. This is what like PlayStation and stuff uses. And it's also harder to program for as a game developer. So it's an older protocol than X input. So most game developers don't code for D input anymore. And the ones that do, usually you have to do like manual mapping again because it's pretty unstandardized. X input exists in almost every modern game today. Some games only work with X input, right? They don't allow any controller mapping, and it just like they made it work with Xbox controllers, and that's it. And so we went X input because it's standardized. Everyone agrees on like what the like directional buttons are, what the like main button is, what the secondary button is, main, and the concept of main and secondary is important because you want select and back to always kind of be the same. But so that's why we went X input. It just works out of the box with nearly everything. Emulators are highly mappable, so like you don't have to like bend hardware to emulators. So yeah, long story, long answer. And one note for you, we are actually going to have a software update. It's probably not soon, but in the development on the software side is the ability to recognize which of your controllers is which, so that when you plug in your like spinner controller, the software will know that you have plugged in the spinner controller.
Oh, interesting. Because I just recently got I call a Tron controller.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of challenges mapping that and doing a little bit of manual kind of like MAME INI editing. And to not have to do that would be great. I just recently got an update where it recognized the Sinden light gun immediately. And that made my setup a lot simpler. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sometimes I like tinkering and I appreciate the ability to tinker, but sometimes I just want like it gets confused where it's like player 2 is player 1 suddenly and the one on the right is the one on the left.
Right, totally. Yeah, you kind of want some of that stuff just to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the mapping for the controllers, the newer controllers, we have not done on the software side. We're gradually getting to that and getting the like Sinden configuration in there. I mean, we are guilty of like shipping hardware before the software's ready because we know we can like update the software later. Whereas like the hardware, you kind of have to get it first. You get it right first.
Well, to your credit, you've built a really enthusiastic community because like we said, I got this on a Kickstarter and I'm thrilled with it. I've watched the software get a half dozen updates, and I even got a hardware update of a tiny board inside that the main system board I got an update for that made improvements as well. So like you don't have like it's modular. You don't have to get a update of the entire box. There's a computer in there. And it's been getting better and better and better. I took an update literally 2 days ago and saw improvements to your credit.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and we're working on kind of a sort of revamp. The AGS has been through a lot of iterations, and you reach a point where like sort of a ground up rebuild it's time for that, and that is where AGS is at. So like once we get that sorted out, we'll see development move faster in general and be sort of less buggy.
So let's talk about that. So AGS means arcade gaming software. So that's the kiosk. That's the front end. Now, historically, and we should probably mention this as well, there's been questionable legality about the idea of emulating arcades. But with Polycade, there's an actual shop and I can go and purchase games. If I don't want to be scouring the internet for ROMs of questionable provenance, I can just go and pay $2.99 and I can play a licensed game. So you've solved that problem for folks that don't want to go all over the internet and look for stuff that might be in a gray area.
Yeah, totally. And so like, our game store is really about like getting like surfacing the retro titles that you can't really buy anywhere right now. And then also curating like modern indie titles that really fit this like sort of arcade.
You have itch.io integration. You have GOG integration. Like my Steam games just lit up, and there's a lot of really great, there's almost a resurgence of great games on Steam. Like I got a bunch of great Japanese shmups, shoot 'em ups, and vertical games that I couldn't find anywhere, couldn't get the ROMs working, and I could go and say, oh, there it is on Steam, $5.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And then like other games like, Vampire Survivors that have sort of come with these new mechanics that, it looks and feels like a game that was released back in the 80s, but, it's a recent game and like fun new mechanics. There's a lot of great stuff in there that we're really enjoying like showing those to folks that, a lot of people just buy our system mainly for the retro games, which is great. That's what we got started in this. But then once you scratch the surface on some of those modern games, you're like, it's like the 80s and 90s just continued and we just lost sight of them. Yeah.
Well, and it's also super configurable in that I could use an Xbox controller if I want to, and it's got a little drawer at the bottom. So if I want to play, and it's got a very, very capable little mini PC inside, and I was able just for about $60 to double the memory. With I threw in another 16 gigs of RAM, and I felt like that gave it the boost that I needed. So while I spend most of my time on the Polycade with retro arcade games, I can also play perfectly good Steam games just fine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's also where you come back to some of this hackability of the system. But I've stuck a KVM switch into my machine, and it can switch between my Nintendo Switch and mini PC, right?
Yeah. One of the things that people are most impressed by when they come and see mine is that I paid a little bit extra for the marquee. So I love explaining this to Windows nerds because, I work for Microsoft in my day job, that the top marquee is another monitor. And it's such a clean, obvious thing to do. It's like, oh, that's monitor 1 and this is monitor 0. And well, how do you put the marquee up there? That's a PNG.
Yeah, yeah.
There's such a bunch of enthusiasts in the Discord, sharing art to get
Yes,
that marquee to light up. What a great feature.
totally. And actually, we're something we need to do. Going to issue this task today is get that community artwork loaded into the system so that it just automatically downloads for everybody.
So there's a great example. The having the artwork automatically download. When I started playing with this, when I first got it, and like you said, the hardware was excellent. The software is getting there. I had to go into like deep folders into app data, local, whatever, and like put in like name this PNG some GUID.png. But now there's talk of having that automatically download. There's PowerShell scripts. How do you coordinate that, and how do you deal with the community saying they want it to just work out of the box, but they also love tinkering?
Yeah, totally. So we kind of like do our best to get the things we can't change right the first time, hardware, right? And so get that out into the field, and then the power users, there's always some friction here because we do release the hardware a little before the software, and so the power users get right down to it and figure out how to configure and etc. Folks who are not power users get in touch with the power users so they can figure it out too. And then we kind of listen and watch and, figure out what we need to like incorporate into the system sooner than later. But so, moving forward, there's like two areas that we're really working on improving is, number one, like more empowering users to be able to like fix things for other users essentially, right? So the metadata.
Well, impatient. I think some of your users are impatient. So you have like a very nice young man who's in the chat who sounds like he's one of the main devs, and he's like, yeah, we're working on that. And then someone else will be like, I wrote a PowerShell script. I got tired of waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, how do we like kind of like accelerate some of this so that, where we can only move so fast internally, like what tools can we put in your guys' hands, that allow you to, move some of this faster than we could.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. We have a lot of fun with it. Now, it's worth noting that you have a famous last name. Your last name is Bushnell. Your dad is Nolan Bushnell, who made Atari and he made Chuck E. Cheese. Did that make you an arcade person? Is this one of those things where was he like a gamer? Is that just a coincidence?
He's not really a gamer is the funny thing. I mean, he loves games, right?
Okay.
But like, he hasn't played like a video game and like, he plays like that's not true. He plays a lot of video games, but like he has not played like
he's just not in COD. I'm not going to drop into a COD lobby and your dad's there.
He would never touch like a modern video game, right? Like he's like a mobile game guy.
Isn't that funny? My dad's pushing 80 as well, and he's like all about the mobile, but less so about anything with like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller.
Yeah, you reached a point that where like there was more than 4 buttons on the controller, and guys like that opted out, right? And so I mean, he has like he's played a lot on the Polycade at his house. That like.
Oh, so he's a Polycade owner as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So he was getting real into it for a while, playing it daily, like revisiting a bunch of old games. He showed me one game called Loco Motion. I don't know if you know that, but
no,
kind of a cool, weird little train game.
Fringe. But did you grow up with arcades all over, or is this something that happened naturally? Because you and I are men of a certain age. I think that it's just natural.
Yes. So like we grew up just like around gaming in general, so like we had an arcade in our house with like 4 pinballs, of which like 1 worked. We had like 6 arcade machines in our house, I think.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's in your genes.
Yeah. And those were all of this stuff growing up felt like old and artifacty to us.
Really?
Because I was born in 1980.
Okay.
And so like, and all of that, he had sold it in like 1972 Atari, or wait, no, 76.
Yeah.
And the or was it 78? I should know these things.
Well, I mean, you were negative 2 years old. I think it's worth noting.
But just from the trivia, people ask me trivia all the time. I'm like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know. I was a baby, man. How could I know?
Yeah, you're the you're the historian of it. I was just there.
Yeah.
But what was the question? Oh yeah, so I mean, like, we just grew up around all these games, like, the games that we had in our house were like Canyon Bomber,
Oh,
Super
man.
Breakout,
Yeah.
Dominoes. I think we had like X and O football, but it never worked. It was just it was like a poker table for us. And like, I don't know, those are and then we had Donkey Kong Jr. and Pango.
There you go. That's pretty solid start.
Pretty solid setup.
When did you conceive, though? There's so many lousy, without mentioning any names or companies, there's a lot of very mediocre arcade systems out there. And a lot of them look like big arcades. Like I went and I built one, and people know who followed my YouTube and followed me for years that I had that thing here, and I loved it, but it was imposing. It's like having a refrigerator in your office.
Yeah, it like creates dead space to the sort of like next to it and stuff. Yeah. Like,
and then you've got the people who are like, you got to have a CRT, man, and like people will drive 100 miles to find a good 27-inch CRT that'll shock you and kill your whole family.
Totally.
Right. I want to understand how the Polycade Sente got conceived of and why you made the choices you made, because you made some choices that an arcade purist might be like, I don't know, man, 16:9 screen, LCD panel, it's awfully thin. Totally. But man, it's a freaking delight. But there was a decision there. Back to that very beginning, you were deliberate. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, we started like interested in retro games, like built up a unit. I mean, I wanted to put the machine in my living room, so like that's what informed the design of where, like, my wife is an interior designer, furniture designer, and so she, it had to look a certain way to appease her. So that's sort of what informed the design. But from a functional standpoint, once we started scratching the surface on like modern, one thing we knew going into this, because I grew up with arcade machines, we moved a few times, and like bringing an arcade machine up and down the stairs is something no one should ever have to do.
Oh no, it's the worst.
Miserable. Yeah. And so, like, much less 6 of them.
It took 3 full-grown men with bad backs to get that arcade out the door, and dude, I never want to do that ever again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like when we talk about CRTs, I knew immediately. Also, from just a supply and everything else perspective, like CRTs are not a logical thing to use anymore, right? Like if you're purist, you're doing a museum thing, like whatever. I don't know. You're like, yeah, get your CRT. Whatever. No one's starting a business about CRT arcade machines. But more importantly, we wanted this to be a modern device, right? We wanted it to have modern features, like modern software features and whatnot, right? Like, I've played plenty of MAME cabinets and like, set up my own Raspberry Pi console system. And the first thing the thing that was so interesting to me when you set up your like Raspberry Pi retro console is that, for me, fun to set it up. And then once I got it all set up, right, I like turned it on, I played like 3 games and I never touched the thing again, And it was like, why is that? Like, what is this that like makes this thing suck, kind of, And it's like, I don't know what, it was like some amount of like turning the TV on and getting the Pi up and running, and like, Emulation Station doesn't remember any of the games I've played. So like, it's like, I don't know, the UI just is like very
welcoming.
Yeah. It's just kind of a bummer. And it takes a while to find what you want to play. It doesn't really like, you're sifting. Of course you loaded 10,000 games in there. So like you're sifting through like Sesame
and some
Street.
of them work and some of them don't. And
yeah. And so it's like the whole thing is just kind of a pain and doesn't really, something not engaging about it. And it's like a problem with software. It's a problem with like barrier to entry. It's a problem with, I don't know. So it was like, coming back to the Polycade, we wanted to make sure we were building something that like felt good to play, and was sort of future proof in a way that um, it could be the most flexible machine possible, right? And so when we talk about being the most flexible and being able to play modern games are built for one screen size, and that is 1920 by, it's like a 16 to 9
Yep.
screen ratio. And a lot of them don't play well when you bring them up on like screen size sometimes for those doesn't translate very well to a 4:3 because you just don't really have to do that very often these days.
Yeah. Well, and plus you can apply CRT filters. Like CRT filters were okay 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But on a modern machine, on a 4K monitor, they're extraordinary. So if you want to spend that little bit of 3D, power on your GPU, why not do it? It's pretty convincing.
Yeah. And when it comes to like emulation and like retro technologies, right? Like those are always being moved forward to modern hardware, right? And so, yeah, we can expect that like CRT, like, scan lines and all that good stuff is going to be properly emulated on a modern monitor. We can also expect that emulators are going to allow us to like keep screen size ratios proper on a 16 by 9 monitor, right? And so if it was originally a vertical game, it'll show with like, black bars, and we can always put monitor like bezel artwork in those black bars so that it looks cool when you bring up that game, right?
Oh yeah, that people need to see that, by the way. Like getting that right. Like, man, the amount of work required to go and collect all the art, that'll be amazing when AGS does that for me, because I love when the marquee pops up. But when you get bezel art and you're playing like asteroids and then you warp the CRT, it's almost like the thing transforms. And it's also worth noting, again, I know I'm sounding like I'm an advertisement, but like there's magnetics. Like this thing is metal. This thing is sturdy. So if you want to change the entire look of the Polycade, you could put the art on the outside.
Yeah,
you can,
totally.
Not just with stickers. I had some lousy stickers on my arcade, but this does metallic arcade decals, which change the look and feel of the entire thing.
Yeah, the magnet factor is a lot of fun. Like,
oh, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, like again, I apologize for fanboying, but
no, but yeah,
that plus the marquee plus the art, it all makes sense why you would have a 16 by 9 screen. It just gives you the flexibility that you need.
Exactly. And then and everything is all the old stuff is like forwards compatible, right? So it's like,
but you also put a webcam in the thing, which surprised me. There's a webcam at the top. Why?
Yeah, so that's, originally we wanted there for like people to be streaming or like, doing that kind of thing, for commercial use cases, or I mean for anybody. There's like a photo booth app in our software, so you can, do that at the very, very basic. A lot of the like choice to put the webcam in there is like future looking. Like we really want to add a bunch of camera features in there on the software side. We just haven't really gotten there yet. But definitely think that like, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the camera, right? Like, we could add in like facial recognition logins.
Sure.
So, a family scenario where like you don't have to log in, and even
little kid gets the little kid menu or whatever.
Yeah, and exactly right. We know who's there, so we can adjust the game library appropriately. We can, know which account to put the score under. Even when you're playing hot seat, things like that could, there's just some fun stuff that you can start to do with a camera. In addition to like, we really want to do like some just fun camera filters where you can go in and like, take a picture where you're like, I don't know, Rambo or something.
Speaking of cameras, I know that you're not Sinden, the Sinden light gun people, but you have a relationship with the Sinden light gun people. As a computer programmer myself, it's such a fascinating, like nothing hacks a computer more than retro gaming. And like light guns work on CRTs, and people complain when they can't play Duck Hunt on a modern LED. And that's because of how light guns work. Sinden light guns are such a crazy idea. They are a webcam pointed back at your screen that then moves the mouse based on looking at the square. And that's just so insane and such a wonderful hack, and it just works, and it's freaking delightful.
Totally. Yeah, they're great, and the guns are. I mean, they are a little bit of a pain to get running, but once you do, they're the most fun, right?
Yeah, once you get the calibration, I ended up putting a light yellow frame. Some people put a white frame, basically a pixel frame around to make it clear to the gun that this is the thing that we're going to be shooting at. And then you're playing like zombie games and Time Crisis and stuff like that. And there's even one with recoil, so it'll go and go each time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's about as close to going to Chuck E. Cheese and playing Terminator or Jurassic Park that you can possibly get. And the integration, again, to your credit, I just got the holsters. They just magnet on, and they magnet on securely. Like, I thought I was going to have to screw this thing on and drill a hole in the metal. They just popped on.
They're fierce. We were stoked when we got those right, because the first prototype was like way too weak, and we were like, uh-oh, this better work.
Oh no. Like, I don't know what you did, but like, you don't want it to be so magnetic that they're never coming off, but you also don't want them sliding around. Whatever you did, you nailed it, because I put them on, and it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Thunk.
They thunk on, and then you've got like a holster. So super excited about that. And I ended up going on eBay, and for $3 I got a Rock Band drum button, and I made that my cover button. So I'm hiding behind, because again, the software is configurable.
Yes, smart. Yeah. So I'll give you a little spoiler here. We're working on a few new controllers.
Exclusive. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Although one we've teased in the Kickstarter.
That's okay. I'm going to pretend that I'm getting an exclusive here.
Yeah. The driving wheel. We're still working on that.
Oh, the driving wheel. I need to play Outrun with the driving wheel.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, because we get this question a lot, but the driving wheel controller will be a universal mounting controller. So
interesting.
It will work with like PXN and Logitech driving wheels. So we are not providing the driving wheel. You get to choose your own.
Oh, nice. So you're giving us a mount, and it's worth noting, you really got to go to polycade.com and look at that opening animation, because it is truly impressive the way that you can pull these controllers out and make it look like whatever you want. So I'm going to pull this controller out, unplug the USB-A out of the back, pop in the mount, and then put on my Logitech, I forgot the number for it, but my Ferrari Logitech controller or whatever, and it's just going to work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So the driving wheel, that's being worked on. And then we should see pretty soon here a prototype of the 4-player controller.
Oh, now how will that work? Because this is I'd love to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or The Simpsons. Is it going to be cramped? How are we going to fit 4 players in such a small area?
It will hang over the sides.
Oh, so it'll feel like it really did. It'll have that flair.
Deck, yeah.
Oh, is it one giant one, or is it 2?
It's one giant one.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be heavy.
I'd love that. That's okay. But the point is, you have choice. Like, again, if people are on the video or they look at this on TikTok or YouTube, behind you are actually not just the controllers hanging on your wall, but you even sell wall hangers. So it is expected. This is a thing that you're going to swap your controllers. I have, like I said, the Tron controller at the bottom that I use with like Afterburner and Tron and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one. The next version of the Tron controller will use the.
Oh my God! Look at that. He's holding up the. It looks like a Tron controller. It's got the color. It's translucent. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. So we're doing some upgrades as we re-release some of the existing products as well.
Fantastic, man! This is great. And then this is a virtual business, but I actually bumped into you in Portland, Oregon. We're both in Portland. Is that? Yeah. Are you in Portland? Do you live in Portland, or did I just see you there because you were doing some filming?
No, yeah, I live in Portland. Yeah.
But there's so much creativity in this town.
I know. Yeah. What did I was out in New York recently and told someone, they were like, "Oh yeah, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I make arcade machines." They're like, "And you're from Portland? That's so Portland."
That is so Portland. That is classically Portland. Creativity, creation, making stuff, pushing the limits. It's absolutely Portland, and I love it for you.
Yeah. Artisan city.
We are a bunch of artists, aren't we? That's fantastic. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott. This is super fun. Yeah.
We have been chatting with Tyler Bushnell, founder and CEO of Polycade. I am a fan. This is not an advertisement. This is just a love letter to retro arcade gaming. I encourage you to check out polycade.com. I have a Polycade Sente. It's just a fantastic device. It gives you the best of both worlds. You can just play, or you can just tinker, or you can do a little bit of both, which is what I enjoy doing on my Polycade Sente. And this has been another episode of Hansel Minutes, and we'll see you again next week.